To make our understanding of what happens during an inflammatory response a little bit easier to wrap our heads around, let's talk about what happens when the skin is damaged by physical injury. Damage to the skin causes the release of pro-inflammatory molecules like histamines, kinins, prostaglandins, and leukotrienes. These chemicals have different functions, but your histamines cause blood vessels to dilate. This is called vasodilation. And vasodilation also causes endothelial cells, so these are cells that are making up the walls of the capillaries. It makes them kind of separate, kind of like what you can see here. This leads blood vessels to become leaky, and they leak fluid, including blood, into the damaged area. This separates the injured area from the rest of the body, and it also increases access to phagocytic cells like macrophages and neutrophils. You can see them kind of rolling around inside of this blood vessel at the bottom of the screen. They're the purple cells and the kind of grayish yellow cells. So as these cells roll around, this is called margination, and they can actually start to squeeze through the spaces between the endothelial cells. That's called diapedesis. It turns out that these cells are actually attracted to, let me pause the video for a second, but these cells are actually attracted to microorganisms that may be deposited on the damaged tissue. So if I scroll this animation back just a bit to here, you can see that when that skateboarder fell on the sidewalk and his skin became damaged, bacteria were deposited onto the skin, and these bacteria produce molecules that attract phagocytic cells. We actually did talk about that. Those are the PAMPs that we talked about, the pathogen-associated molecular patterns. So you can see those forming. The other thing that you can see in this particular screenshot of the video is that while this is happening, a blood clot is forming here. You can see red blood cells and fibrin proteins actually coming together to kind of close up the damaged skin, protecting from loss of blood and continued penetration by bacteria. So your neutrophils that report to the site of injury are going to phagocytize the bacteria. Let me press play here so you can see that. So you can see they're entering the tissues. Here's some phagocytic cells over here entering the tissues, and they're going to start digesting those foreign bacteria. Here's a bit of diapedesis happening here. These macrophages go in and they start eating bacteria and digesting them. You also have cells called dendritic cells. So your dendritic cells are special cells that are also present in the skin that will go through and start eating bacteria as well. Now what's special about the dendritic cells, let me pause the video again. This video is too fast. The special thing about dendritic cells is that they phagocytize bacteria and other microbes deposited onto the skin, and they're going to take little bits and pieces of that microorganism and they're going to present them on their surface so that cells that are part of your adaptive immunity, these are T cells and B cells, can sample those fragments from the microbes and learn about the microbes that are trying to infect the body. So in addition to digesting microbes, these phagocytic cells will also start to digest debris from the damaged cells, and soon will start the repair process to restore the integrity of the skin.